That fire on the mountain, the workers don't actually want government to touch their pension funds in its debt restructuring. The TUC Secretary General, Dr. Yao has been addressing a news conference on this matter.
You may recall that exactly 1 week ago, we said we were asking government to exempt us from the debt exchange program. We sent the letter and we told the whole world that if government doesn't do that, we will advise ourselves. Today we are here to tell you the advice we have given to ourselves. Yes. And that advice is very simple. We have decided, all of us together, that because government has refused until today, by midday of today, to grant us our request that all pension funds, and we are not exempting anything, all pension funds must be exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. We have decided firmly that all workers of Ghana are going to strike on the 27th of December, and we will be on strike until our demand has been granted. And the demand is simple, that all pension funds must be exempted from the debt exchange program. And what it means is that all workers of Ghana should stay at home on the 27th of this, starting from 27th. Don't go to work. Stay at home. And we will stay at home until we hear publicly that government has exempted all pension funds from the domestic exchange program. That is straightforward and very simple. Between now and 27th, we have a few days to Christmas. From tomorrow, in fact, we have started today, every worker in this country must signal to government and to their employers that we are not sitting down for our pension funds for the most vulnerable people in this country to suffer because somebody has made mistakes. We are going to be in our red band, red t-shirt until we hear on the 27th. And we are not meeting here again. 27th, if we haven't heard anything, we start a strike. If we hear anything positive, we organize another press conference and tell the whole world that the strike is over. But that is when the exemption has been announced.
Well, Eurobond holders have constituted a committee to engage government on its debt restructuring plans following an announcement yesterday that certain categories of the country's external debt have been suspended. Here's Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta.
Ladies and gentlemen, in order to recover all, we still have a lot of work to do before the end of the year in order to gain the full benefit of the debt exchange program. Following the stakeholder engagements, government has agreed to extend the expiration date for the domestic debt exchange to 30th December 2022 to allow for key concerns raised by stakeholders to be accommodated in some form. The launch of the debt exchange program, coupled with the signing of the staff level agreement with the IMF, have aided our stability efforts and have in particular contributed significantly to the rebound of our currency. While accommodating the inputs of stakeholders, we must do all we can to sustain the gains of these initiatives, keeping in sight the urgency of obtaining IMF board approval in Q1 2023. The cost of this not succeeding will be too huge for our economy. That is why we urge Parliament to support us in getting the appropriations bill for the 2023 fiscal year passed.
Okay, now let's engage a labor economist on how government can deal with the issues coming up. Dr. Patrick assuming is an economist and a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you, Doc, for your time. A very delicate issue. What, in your estimation, can government be doing now to deal with some of these issues happening on the labor front? Let's start with the demands by labor. Doc, if you can hear me, I'm just asking about your view on what it is that government could be doing, starting off with the demands by organized labor.
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to viewers. I think the starting point is, for government to do what it should have done in the beginning, and that is have a proper engagement with organized labor. I think when the exchange program was announced, we would have expected that there would be a lot of consultations. But even though the government says I consulted, it's obvious that given the complaints that have come, there are many people, many directly affected stakeholders who see this as coming out of the blue. So it simply means that the consultation was not fully done. So I think it's important for the government to consult and to explain and also listen to immediately what the concerns are and try and find middle ground with organized labor and to see, what alternatives and what options are available to get around this debt exchange deadlock that we are seeing. You have to understand that it's not just the organized labor. I think all other groups that have spoken have all expressed concern about supporting this the debt exchange. And so I think it's important, the starting point is an engagement. Then the government should also see, so it will be important to see where it can reconsider the terms of the debt exchange, but also maybe if you have to revisit the 2023 budget and see if there are any adjustments that can be made to ensure that, we soften the impact on the pensions a little bit, or soften the terms of the debt exchange and try to see where we can pick up with the budget.
What do you feel are the options open to government now? Because the fear is, looking at the limited fiscal space government has, it will not be able to make resources available for such payments.
Well, I think it's definitely a difficult position. I think the concern that Labour has is that if you look at how we are sharing the difficult decisions that we have to make. I mean, it seems like we are pushing way too much onto the debt holders, and that there's a sense that the government has not done enough to change the way government runs and to change the way government spends. So I think there's that part of that. So there's that side where people feel that, ordinary Ghanaians are not directly responsible for the difficulties that we are in. It is government decision-making that has brought us here, the main. That's one side. And on the other side, when a decision had to be made, it feels that the government didn't really come to the table and discuss and come to an agreement before announcing it. And there's a sense that government is doing a give or take agreement. And I think that's why we are seeing the level of resistance that we are seeing. So I think, going back to the table and reset and they have fresh discussions. We know there are difficult options, but if these options have been explained and it has been made obvious to the holders of the bond that, this is the best case we can come up with, I'm sure the resistance wouldn't have been what we have seen.
So there's the issue also about the debt exchange, which is also feeding into all of this, because government would have to first of all deal with the pay rise and the issue of the debt exchange. Which of them should government be giving much more priority to at this moment?
I think the debt exchange seems to be a much more pressing need at the moment, because it's a major condition for going ahead with the IMF program, which at the moment it looks like outside of the IMF program, the government doesn't have any other plan. So it becomes more important. Also, the domestic, having a deal on the domestic debt exchange will somewhat help with what we do with our foreign creditors. So I think while you can't say we should put aside the discussion on the salary increment, but all of them have to be tackled. But if you have to pick one that you should focus on immediately, I think that would be the debt exchange, because we've also set a deadline for that. If that deadline comes and we still have to postpone it again, that in itself will send another wrong signal to the to the investors. So I think it's important that there's more engagement and we come to an agreement as soon as possible.
Well, Doc, we've been getting some updates from the ongoing negotiations here in Accra on the issues happening on the labor front. I just want us to listen to an interaction between my colleague Michael Niashale and the Deputy Secretary General of TUC, Joshua Ansah, a while ago before the negotiations started. I'll get your thoughts on that, Dr. Zumin, right after that engagement.
Had been postponed for another day.
But just to give us a sneak peek into what labor, what your idea was going to be. The last time I heard it was 58%. You had come down from 65%. I mean, what were you coming to the meeting with?
Oh no, my brother. We are coming to the meeting to listen to what the government is prepared to offer us. Yes, that was our plan of this.
But the last time they didn't give you any figure. So were you hoping that it will go up now?
That's our hope. But if they don't go up, we don't expect us also to do anything.
But many say you're holding government, you're holding a gun to their head. You have declared a strike on one side. You are refusing to allow your pensions to be part of the negotiations. So how do you expect us to get more money to pay you? You're asking for more, at least for now, 58% more.
58%, I think people do not understand why we're asking for the 60%, for which we account to 58. It's a simple analogy. You see, the base pay by law should be higher than the minimum wage. As I speak to you, the base pay is far, far, far lower than the minimum wage. As I speak to you now, the base pay is 11 cedis, 33 pesos. The minimum wage is 14.88. In bridging the gap, we need about 31.33% to come at par with the base pay. That alone is 31%. So if you are negotiating at this time, there's no way that you accept anything less than 31% plus. Because that will bring you at par to the minimum wage. Then there should be 10% over and above the minimum wage. If you add 10% to that 30-something, it pushes you to 40 plus. And people think that we are just asking for percentage increase with no reason. There are bases for that. If government should even bring our minimum base pay at par with the minimum wage, it's already 31 plus percent. Plus the 10%, 40 plus. And you are already enjoying a COLA of 15%. You add it. There is a relativity of 1.7 that has not been applied for more than since the inception of this base pay. So these are some of the things you need to know before you talk about we are becoming sensitive and this and that and that. Nobody is holding a gun at the head of anybody. No way. We are only negotiating.
So in the last meeting, you also spoke about inflation. Yeah. But the inflation numbers that we have now, it seems that inflation is slowing down. Are you hoping to double down?
Sure? Are you sure that it's slowing down?
I mean, they are hoping that because the CD to dollar rate has decreased from November to now, in January.
Hope. No. Let us be factual. Are you talking about hope or facts? What is the inflation today? Inflation today is 50.4. Yeah, it's going up. So from 40 something, 50, and now it's 0.4. So it's going up. It's never coming down. Yeah. That is what you need to know. Yeah.
So you are not willing to come down any further from 58?
Oh, that one, when we get to the negotiating table, you'll negotiate.
But this will be the second time that government has failed to also give you a figure.
No, today the meeting did not start at all. I won't mention it. We didn't start the meeting at all due to not forming a quorum.
The government side.
But we hope that when we meet again, we will bring this negotiation to a close. If government is ready, we are also ready.
Now,
well, Doc, so it appears that Labour is going hard on inflationary figures, a reason for which they're not willing to go below the 40% threshold. Are their demands justified?
Well, I think if you listen to the voice we just played, obviously they've done their calculations and said that government haven't lived up to the past commitments. And, we've seen that indeed the cost of living has gone up. The inflation is way higher than we currently projected, for which government has given some form of the COLA in the middle of the year. But don't forget that since the COLA was given, the inflation has gone up way more than then. So we have, this is a path we have chosen. We've chosen a path that salaries, public sector wages will be by negotiation. So I think we are going to have to go and engage. My sense is that maybe the engagement has been too late. Usually, this should have been agreed before the budget was read, and it wasn't done. And my sense is that there's a whole lot of the government seems to have a credibility problem in terms of the management of the economy, and also how people are very skeptical that things will actually improve. So it also forms part of the reason why we've seen some of the entrenched positions that the Labour is having. If there was a sense that things will improve, and the inflation will come down, and the cost of living will come down, I'm sure they will be much more willing. Then the other side is so it's for Labour to demand. What Labour demands is their pay. What government has to demand also is productivity. So I think that is that aspect of the debate always get missing in the picture. But it's not on the worker to extract the productivity. It's on the payer to extract the employer to extract the productivity. So always those things have to go hand in hand. But at the moment, it appears that most of our labor negotiations are based on cost and an agreement that we have. And then on that score, labor has to demand what is their due. What I wish, government could do is to explain to labor why at this point in our nation's history, given the challenges we have, and to convince them that, maybe you all need to make sacrifices. And then for government to demonstrate the sacrifices they are making, and therefore expect that labor also make sacrifices to explain that at this point, if you grant these increases, there will be more challenges for the economy. I'm not sure that has been done. And so all of this come together explain why, labor is holding the position it has.
We want to thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Esuming, for joining us. He's an economist helping us with the discussion. Let's get the latest on what's happening in terms of the negotiation between government and Labour for you. Michael Niashale is monitoring all of that. He's joining us live now with the latest on this. Michael, what can you report? The last time you were there, the two sides, of course, the two sides actually failed to reach any concrete agreement despite government's decision to come somewhere close to the demands of Labour. Bring us up to speed with what's happening now.
Okay, Brace, sorry, not Brace, but Blessed, what exactly we know now is that the meeting that was scheduled to take place today was called off eventually because the side of government, they don't have the quorum to have this particular conversation. So usually, who are you expecting on the side of government? You are expecting the Fair Wages and Fair Wages Commission. You're expecting the Ministry of Finance. You're expecting the Ministry of Labour and Employment. And then you're expecting some other groups that are associated. But chiefly, these four main individuals are the people you're expecting to be here. Usually, the Minister for Employment together with his deputy, that is Ignatius Bafuwa, and then Bright Rakubrobe will both be at this meeting making government side for. And then on the side of Labour, you have virtually almost every one of those labour unions represented from the civil service area. You have CLOCSAG, you'd have the TUC, their mother body, you'd have the teacher union, so you have TEU, you have NAT, you'd have NAGRAT, you have the university teachers as well. So it cuts across. Even have the medical associations already represented. You have that of the nurses and then that of the doctors all represented. But today, as we understand it, the part of Labour represented But on the side of government, we understand that the Deputy Minister of Finance did not come. And it was only the side of the Minister for Employment and his deputy that were in this meeting. Even for that, I understand that they had to attend to some urgent matters in Parliament. So you'd have his deputy, for instance, who left quite early in that particular meeting. So no quorum today in this particular meeting. But today is not the first time they are meeting. This will be like the set time these two groups are sitting to negotiate their base pay for the 2023 working year. What has happened so far? So Labour came into this conversation starting from well over 100% increment for the 2023 year. Initially, government said it will not be able to meet that particular demand. Government started at 8%, not forgetting that in the 2022 year, Labour was given a 7% increment on their pay. In the year 2021, they gave them 4%. So just to give you an understanding of what we are dealing with now. So Labour is starting more than 100%. Government started at 8%. The subsequent meetings, Labour reduced it all the way to 60%. In that meeting, government offered to give them 10% and later went to 12%. That did not augur well with Labour. Labour subsequently, whilst we saw inflation figures go up beyond the 40% mark, Labour went up to 65%. So initially 60, they now went up 5% more. And government said they were going to give them 18 now. Now, right from the 18, that was it, 3 meetings from now ago, that number came down from the Labour side from 65 to 58 in their last meeting. But that particular meeting, what we know is that government failed to give them any number or any indication that was willing to go up or so the 18% remained. That brings us to today's meeting, where government did not have the quorum to continue with the meeting. We understand only 2 people on that side were represented. Labour left here very much unhappy with the how these negotiations are panning out. Ordinarily, this meeting should have happened sometime before the last quarter of the year so that the Minister of Finance can also inculcate these percentages into the budget. But the budget has already been read and appropriation is currently ongoing in Parliament.
My colleague Michael Niashali giving us the latest will definitely get you updates in our subsequent bulletin. Michael, thank you.